Welcome to Camp Chaos, where we celebrate the wild ride of modern womanhood.
Join us as we dish on motherhood, life's ups and downs, and all things pop culture that we know you want to talk about.
With special guests and expert insights, we're here to empower you through the chaos of everyday life.
Consider this your ultimate escape from the hustle and bustle. And as always, parental guidance suggested.
Camp is now in session. All right, Cami Edwards, the mother, the businesswoman, my best friend, the ex-reality star, my world's colliding right now. Cami Edwards, welcome to Camp Chaos.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm so
We
excited.
are so excited to have you. And obviously, you guys are best friends, but I'm not as familiar with your whole entire story.
Yeah.
Even though I've texted her over the last few days, here,
And
this is a little thing about her.
Stop. I want to hear it from her. Okay, how long have you guys known each other?
We met when we were 11, right?
So over 20 years. What is that?
Let's not
23
age
years.
ourselves, but yeah.
Are
was
you
the
an only
first-
child?
Yeah.
Can you
really?
tell?
No.
How did you know that?
I don't know. I was
Stop acting. She acts like only childs are the weirdest
They
people
are.
in the
and my
entire
husband's
world.
an only child.
And
so-
he's
So was
weird.
mine.
Yeah,
He's
weird.
weird. He's weird too, I know.
Weird. Only children are weird. Don't do that to your children.
That's why I had another. I don't know. I didn't want to
Exactly.
repeat history.
Oh my God. Okay, so what was childhood like as an only child?
Well, I think my mom and dad wanted to have more. My dad passed away when I was younger, so I was busy, just busy with my mom. So I always,
She was an only child until she met me, and then she became my family's
And then she
child,
was, yes.
right?
I had spent the night at Kyndra's house in middle school 3 nights a week. I wore her clothes to school, sometimes her sisters.
Yeah. No, literally the first time that I met Cami, it was 6th grade, and I had never gone to school with anyone that was Black in my life. And we got to be welcome to Laguna Beach. How sheltered can you be? And at 6th grade, first day, I'm well, I think she had
She was this is new.
this is new, and I want to fuck with this. Who's this chick? She had a Foxy sweatshirt on.
This is when Angel and
Yes.
Hottie and
Yes.
all
You
of
branded
that.
yourself. Watch,
Yeah.
they're gonna have a comeback. And I'm so I
They did,
brought her
by the
home
way.
with me. Or they're on their way. I brought her home with me the first day.
You're Mom
Literally,
and Dad, look.
and then she came home, spent the night with me,
And I never left.
and she never left.
So
And-
she helped make your transition into Laguna way easier.
She did.
no, and then we became best friends, and then it was the rest is history. But the fact that we're still together and friends after 20 something years
Is kind of wild.
It's wild.
And all that you guys have been through is really crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel people, now that we've talked about Laguna, it's what's real on reality TV,
Yeah.
what's not. But you guys were legit friends.
Yes.
Yeah, we were actually friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
Okay,
feel a
so-
lot of people haven't. Afterwards, the other people on the show, weren't I don't think any of those people are really still friends.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I know people are fascinated by that still. And also when I met her, Cami was born 40, similar to me. I feel we were
Oh.
born at a certain age, and you
Yes.
stay that age your whole life. But I'm oh, we just get each other. We're old souls. But Cami's dad died when you were how old?
7. Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's
I just became part of their family. We did we went on every time we went to Cabo, every
Yeah.
family trip. I was there for everything. We really grew up together. And
we
yes,
adopted her.
like-
We adopted
Right.
you without the legal document.
I think that's you stole me basically.
It's actually called kidnapping.
Yeah, I think so. Two totally different people, but same sense of humor. We laugh at the same shit. I think that's ultimately what
That's what everyone finds in a best friend, is somebody that just laughs at your jokes.
Yeah.
Well, because if not, it's goodbye.
You don't get me. You're not going to laugh at
You
me.
don't get me, goodbye.
Yeah.
Okay, well, obviously, everyone wants you on the podcast. I'm pretty sure they want you two to host the podcast.
You're
and they could
actually,
really be
Taylor.
done with me. But I think it's because everyone's so fascinated by the Laguna of it all, and you two, which I told Kyndra I actually did not watch. But
You know what? To be fair, I literally didn't watch the last 3 episodes either. So I think
Yeah.
you probably
You're not missing
you
anything.
weren't missing
I
much.
almost watched it last night.
I mean,
We were in bed and
you probably
should
wouldn't
I
have showed
watch
up
it
today.
till,
No. You'd been hell no.
Okay,
How did I
but
get
for
here?
both of you, did they approach you both at the same time? Was it you guys are a package deal, or how did the let's just get into Laguna?
I have
that's
a
what
trauma
everyone wants
response
know.
to everything, but she actually, I look at her, I'm tell me, Mom, what
I know
was it?
she called me before when you guys did your first
Yeah.
episode to kind of recap of
Yeah,
our
'cause I
fucking
forget.
childhood, because she was
Mhm.
I don't remember shit. I'm I don't really bits and pieces. But so I think you guys mentioned on the first episode when Ken kind of went into it, we were in the same friend group as the older kids from season 2, not really season 1 as much, but season 2. I went to prom with Jason, who was a main character, and then he went on to do The Hills.
Oh my God, you went to prom with Jason?
Yes.
I was like,
I love it. So that was so funny. And so he was best friends with Kendra's boyfriend, Tyler, at the time. And that is why.
See, this
we
is
were
like
all
the
kind
trauma
of
that I start blocking out. I'm like, what
you're
are
like,
you talking about?
So it was kind of just, we were like all friends. And at the time, I don't think he was actually like dating Alex M. They were off and on. That's what they call her, Alex M. Because there was a couple Alexes on that season. And so one of the episodes on season 2 was Ken and I. That episode, we had walked over and like asked Alex, again, this is all part of the like, need to make up a story.
Right.
I would have
They
just
just needed
texted
drama.
her. I just would have texted her, hey, by the way, is it cool? I'm going with Jason, like nothing
You
weird.
probably wouldn't have even asked.
No, exactly. And so they wanted us to go formally ask her. And again, like what she and I just happened to be mic'd and like, we weren't a part of that season really. So that was kind of like the intro. I went to prom with him and I think we were in a couple like background episodes and stuff like that. And then when they formally were doing season 3, we did sit down for an interview process, all of us. And I think, it was a package deal. They knew it was an easy crossover for them.
We still have a package deal.
Yeah.
You didn't know if you were getting this one?
I know. It is.
Surprise!
But also too, like, even if I didn't have a storyline, like, let's be real, I was the only Black person.
Yes.
And I was like, that's
You're like, I still am
as
the only
Kendra's
Black
mom
girl.
said, she was like, I was the only black thing in Laguna Beach was like me and like the piano in their house. Like,
I know. But
so,
now look at like today, now everyone's trying to like they rebrand Housewives and like they recast and they're like, oh, we have to have a
token.
Black person in there
the
now.
token.
Right.
Yeah, but it was cool. You were cool before.
Yeah,
Any of it.
right.
Before it was cool.
No,
to
but
be
the
Black.
thing is like, being, and I'm actually only a quarter Black, but like you're obviously like always, you're branded as Black,
Yeah.
which is kind of crazy to think, even though I'm more white than, which I'm very proud of, but
She's Black and Jewish.
bluish.
Bluish.
Her and Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah.
So she was like the token Black girl, but like
Yeah.
she also got like a lot of, that sounds horrible, like racism back then in school. But we came from Laguna Beach where apparently they breed racism. I mean, I was like, oh, you're Black. I'm going to hang out with you. You look so cool. Like you're different than me. Why is your hair a fro? Like
My hair was.
she would like straighten her hair and I'm like, oh, girl, don't
I would straighten
that.
everything,
Like,
I would straighten everything but the root.
It was so cute.
The straighteners were new back then, okay? It was
Yeah,
like
the
a
hot
learning
tools.
curve.
Yes. Hot tools.
Because I used
Yes.
to do the same with my hair, and my mom was like, girlfriend, the back of your hair is frizzy Lizzie,
Yeah,
and
you'd
the
leave-
front pieces are straight.
It was so
Like,
bad.
you have to
It was
figure it out.
so bad. And then the extensions. Oh my God.
and then the
extensions.
chemical straightening, and we've done it all.
But like, I can relate to that because being Hispanic, like, and I grew up inland, Yorba Linda, like I was one of 2 Hispanic girls growing up. And it was just like, you definitely, whether you felt it or not, like you were very aware that you did not look like
You look
everybody.
different.
Like even, I remember just like getting dark hair on my legs when like you couldn't shave and the other girls were like blonde with light hair so it didn't bother them. And I was begging my mom for a razor in 7th grade because I'm like, I need to get rid of this. Like
This
I hate
is-
it.
yeah.
You just notice certain things that like,
Well, I'm
You
the
would
white.
not.
No, I would not. And I would actually shave my legs to try to get hair and she would have hair. I'm like, I'm going to shave it because then hair will come.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. Okay, so you guys start filming season 3.
Yes.
Did you know that you guys were going to be cast as the Mean Girls?
No, but once we started to
It became
realize
pretty obvious.
we knew it and we kind of just like we either played into it and then for a certain period of time and then at the end we were like, fuck this. She and I would
You
be like in
filmed for a
tears.
long time though,
Yes.
too. Like it's not like
It's
you're
9
just
months.
filming it for 3 months, even 2 months, and like being done with your life, like other reality shows are now. 9 months. Like think of how long. That's like as long as Palmer's been alive. Your daughter.
Yeah,
like
it's
that's a
how long we
long
were all
ass
pregnant. It's
time.
forever.
Like, it's forever.
It's
So
almost a year. is
you,
what
yeah,
it is.
it's
crazy.
almost a
Exactly.
fucking year. And you just get over it. And then you're like, well, I don't want to be, you're in a different place in your life. You're hanging out with these people that you don't want to hang out with, that you don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like so forced.
The entire thing was so forced.
Honestly, the best part about hanging out and filming was like production. The mic guys or camera guys.
We were all buddies with
Like
them.
we became like friends with them.
Well,
like
because
our
you're with them all the
producers,
time.
you're with them all the time. And we were also like what we thought was born 40. So like Mark,
We were
like we
buddies.
we're friends with the mic guys, the camera guys,
Me.
Rob,
You're friends with me.
I was friends with you. Yeah.
Remind
like
me.
I don't want to go hang out with these other people, but like then like also inappropriate. We were like 16, 17 and like one of them's extremely coming on to Cami. Like
in Cabo, it was like, yeah, I know. The whole thing
she
was
just
like,
would
it feels
not
like
fly.
a fever dream. Like you're like, how the hell? Like it was just
And where were our parents? mother.
I know. I was like, Mom,
How was your mom? What was your mom's reaction when you like brought home the contract and you're like, hey, I'm gonna.
I mean, both our parents. My mom is a law.
Did my
degree.
mom sign your
I'm
contract?
like, Mom, did you even read it?
I was going to say, did my mom sign it for you?
Signed my, yeah, probably. They were like, power of attorney, just like signed it for me. But no, I'm like, Mom, did you not read? Like, I think that at that point, season 1 and season 2, and there were like, Laguna was the first of its kind.
Mm-hmm.
Like a docu-series or docu-soap, is that what you call it? I forget. But we had like specialty lighting and everything. And I think at the time it was like, the Osbournes, not even the Kardashians. So season 1 and season 2, they didn't really like portray them that bad. I mean, I guess like Kristen wasn't portrayed badly, but like she was the party girl. So like maybe our parents could be like, oh, I don't know. No one really thought it was that bad. So when they went to sign it, they didn't know probably how bad they were going to like edit and like manipulate and force us to sit down and talk about these other people. So I don't think our parents probably even thought it was like that bad. The bad part was signing away where they could use our voices as like ringtones and we wouldn't see a goddamn dime. Dime.
Oh, it's just a totally different time now.
Now we have to go on The Bachelor, but now we're too old for The Bachelor.
And we're also married. Both married. So I don't know about
that wouldn't work. How was it filming with the other people on your season? Because who were you guys actually friends with other than each other?
None of the other, actually, you know what?
You're like, actually, no one.
No. Lexi.
I know Lexi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I danced with her growing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She like used to come visit me at USC.
That's
I love
so
her.
weird. I just realized that as you're saying that.
Friends with Lexi, the secondary characters like Candace, Rachel, but like no one else, like they had that totally forced made up storyline that you were dating like Cameron or whatever.
Yeah, that would never happen.
No.
Mm-mm.
So how do you fake that? Did you have to kiss him?
No, I don't think I did.
I don't recall if you actually kissed him or not.
I don't think so.
I think that you're lying based on your face action. Now that you say that means she remembers. Huh?
You guys had to talk about that, like
we did.
You liked him.
We did.
Yeah.
We played into it at that point.
Actresses.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there really wasn't. It was like this whole
paying.
made up thing that like there was a love triangle with Jessica, who was this girl that was dating him. She was on season 2. They were like kind of together and made it seem like this whole thing. And it was like not.
And it's interesting. I don't know if from her perspective, if she was also playing into it too, just to get it on another season. Like, I have no idea.
No.
That's what's so weird too. It's like, why didn't we all just talk about it behind the scenes? Like, okay, what role are you playing? What role do you want me to play? Like, let's all just like be on a
now
common
people
ground
are a lot
of it.
more strategic, but I think in high
people
school,
are so much more strategic.
I don't think in high school.
And for the benefit of them to get another season or to have good ratings. I mean, ours was like, they were just trying to like throw a bunch into the mix and see what came out.
Throw shit at the wall, literally. And then once they figured out what shit was sticking, then they decided to like run with it and like, which was again like not a true storyline.
But there was a lot of stuff that we did that was like, it should have been on and it could have been so much funnier. But like, it ends up on the cutting room floor. It's like it didn't
fit in with the storyline.
It didn't fit.
Us being like stupid and silly. But I'd say the hardest part of filming was really when we got to the point where we realized what they were doing and we would have to go back and talk about something. They would pluck something out and think that it was significant for the storyline. And then we'd have to go back and sit down and talk about it. And she and I would be like multiple times, like towards the end, we're like in tears being like, I don't recall that happening. I don't want to talk about that. Can we just please fucking go? And they were like, look, we just got to get the shot. And because we were buddies with them, it made it so much worse. We're like, didn't want to like disappoint them. But other times we were kind of like, fuck you guys.
And like also it's weird. There was one girl, and I don't even know if we should say her name.
Don't say her name because I have something else to share about a guy.
Okay. So like we won't say the name of this producer because she's still in the industry. But it was really her job to be like, make friends with them, like make them feel like you're the big sister gonna take care of them, right?
Yeah.
Like, yet we didn't even know her last name. Do you remember that?
No.
It's like not her real last name. You know that, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. She's like a complete alias of like but we all thought, oh, she's going to protect us. And then instead she's actually putting you in situations where it's like, sounds like we were actually being bred like at like the bunny ranch.
It literally sounds really scary.
It was. I mean, now looking back, I think of my children ever going through something like that and grown men, like we were with men at 16, 17 that were in their 40s.
Well, but also,
Just
like, you guys were in school. Like,
Yeah,
you had homework.
I had like AP
Accountability.
classes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Which is like,
I mean, like we would wear like little dresses and like we'd have grown men without our parents around be like,
Bathing
oh, I
suits.
need to or
Put your
bathing
mic
suits,
on.
I need to put your mic on. And it's like, that's just not,
Oh my God,
I don't know.
just had a flashback. Oh my
Exactly.
God.
See, all this stuff starts coming back.
Oh,
my
they're just
God,
like in your
it's
bathing
just
suit and they like go up your back to put your mic on.
It just is like, no. Could you ever imagine your child?
So I'm gonna piggyback off of that. Funny story. One of those who will not be named, one of the producers, this was, and we'll get into this, but this was like days after I had moved into my mom's house. This is after I separated from my ex-husband, and I had moved into Marina Del Rey, and one of the producers lives there, like just a couple houses away from my mom's house. And I was out on the beach with my daughter, and I run into him. He's talking to me like Ken and I have had the same number since like middle school. So we had the same number. He still had the same number. He texted me. It was just whatever. Like we loved this guy growing up. Okay.
But like look at him like not like a buddy, like, hey, we're gonna hang out. Like you're an older guy in a position of power.
Yeah. But he was funny. Like we enjoyed working with him when we were younger. So he's like texting me, like whatever. A couple months go by and he was like, hey, let's get lunch. I'm in Culver City. And I had at this point moved and was renting this very cute little house with my daughter and I. And we go out to lunch, and lunch was totally fine. We're talking about like reminiscing on Laguna, all this stuff. And then he brings up him running into me on the beach. He was like, that was so funny that day that I ran into you. And he was like, and I was just looking at you. And he was like, gosh, I'm so attracted to her. And my stomach like dropped, and I was like, ew, this is a date. And then
you're on a date.
I was like, I'm on a fucking date with this producer who's like, he's like 50. Like, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with an age gap in a relationship. There is one if he saw me in my bathing suit and knew me as a child.
16-year-old.
Yeah. And I was like, scrambling for my wallet.
I feel even more grosser than it already was.
I was scrambling for my wallet. I'm like, please don't pay. I'm like, here's my, and he's like, no, I got it. I'm like, no, please, this is a date. Like, how do I get out of here?
You're on a date with,
I was horrified. So more trauma with that.
And then you're like, block his number.
And he would text me all the time afterwards.
But I do think what's interesting too is like, her and I have a similar, I think, view of what happened on Laguna in our experience. But other people, like I know for a fact on season 1, season 2, have a very different perspective of
did you guys have the same like production crew?
Yes, actually I think some of them went to the hills, and then we had new people start, but a lot were the same.
Like they had a different experience in that they felt that their characters were more authentic to who they are.
I think so, and less of like
they were real storylines. Like there were real like boy girl like relationship, like
love triangle, the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is so crazy.
I know.
It kind of makes it sound like it was like a really dark time.
I know it sounds
does it?
I know it sounds like the wild west.
I feel like so for example, I was just thinking back again, like driving down here, I was thinking back, like I didn't even go, which is such a mistake because TRL no longer exists. Do you remember I didn't go to the live finale that they got to host because I hated the show so much. I didn't go.
Where was the live finale? In New York?
Are you okay?
At the TRL studio?
Yeah. Oh, I did go.
Yeah, you went.
Yeah, we hosted TRL.
And I didn't go. They watched the finale, and I didn't go because
you were so traumatized.
Yes.
Now, if you look back, like TRL, that's actually kind of a cool thing.
It is
to
cool.
Be able to go
that's epic.
It's a cool experience to say that we did. It's unique. Like how many? I mean, I guess there's so many reality TV shows. Before it was like, how cool is it to say that you, I guess, were on a reality TV show? There weren't a ton. Now there's like a bazillion. But yeah, it was a unique experience. At one point, I felt like I regretted it because of how badly we were portrayed. But
no, it doesn't matter.
Who cares?
We also
you said
did
that though,
yeah,
but more so because of what you're saying, because of the way that you were portrayed.
Yeah, but like at the same time, like who gives a shit,
it was the after, like I would go out.
We still get DMs of like, I hope your daughter is as evil as you.
Yeah,
or
like
that she gets bullied when she's in school.
Just
like
crazy shit,
weird things,
which I love sharing and reposting for people to like personally go and attack them because you're like, who's the bully?
Right.
And then it says like eat, pray, love in their bio and like some Bible verse.
Yeah, and you're like, you're just a terrible person. Someone called me a demon. That's what it was most recently. That I hope I found God, like all this stuff. And you're like, okay, this is what blows my mind is like people watching this show 17 whatever years later, watching some like a child basically. Right. And again, I wouldn't call us bullies ever. I was like a bitch. Like I just was. I like said what was on my mind. I like definitely played it up. But like there's a difference between being a bully and like a bitch. A bully is somebody who like you go out of your way, you pick at that person like to their face. I was just talking shit about these people on camera. Like
I was just talking shit.
I was just talking shit. Like I was like, so there's a difference. But yeah, it's crazy because you watch these reality TV shows now and they're like terrible to each other. They like tear apart each other, their husbands, the other people's children.
Oh my God, look at the housewives. They like drag you through the mud.
It's so bad. And like, yet
Makes us look
people
like amateurs.
15 years, 20, however many years, 17 years later, 18 years later, people are like going to find that like, and then take the time out of your day to find somebody on Instagram, look at all their photos, and then like DM them some like super aggressive thing calling like us a bully. I'm like, I'm sorry that someone bullied you clearly in high school, but it was not me. And I could see like it seems like those are like hurt people, but like it's crazy. It's nuts to me.
It is crazy though. Like since we put out the podcast, I've been sending you screenshots of like we get private messages on Spotify, and they've all been like, I knew that you two were portrayed wrong, and I'm so happy that you're coming out, and we love you, and we want to hear more of your story.
Yeah, I feel like we were portrayed wrong in the sense where it was definitely more of like, I don't want to say that like we were just the mean girls. Like we were actually funny, and we were, I think, wiser beyond our years.
Yeah.
And I felt like for us, it was like, why are we hanging out with these kids?
Why
are we with these fucking kids? I don't want to be with these kids. These kids are dorks. Like that's what it's like.
If you sum it all up, that's exactly what we were like. Who the fuck are those people?
Yeah, like they weren't cool, and we were just irritated.
Yeah,
like,
and we were fucking cool. We were cool. We were cool.
Like, yeah,
that's exactly what we were fucking
cool.
It was.
And we were like, sipping my coffee as I'm trying to make you two look like nice girls, and you're like, they weren't cool.
Fucking losers. They were losers.
They were just not fucking cool, and we were cool kids. Taylor, we just wanted to be with the cool kids. I know that sounds horrible.
Oh my god. Okay, wait. So what happens post Laguna? I mean, we know obviously for you what happened.
So post Laguna, I was dating somebody at the time.
Okay.
Kyndra and I, our boyfriends were both older. Gavin.
Oh god.
And so I was really embarrassed by the whole thing. I definitely did not want. There's and you mentioned too. There was a couple things we did. We did like.
On spring break
club together
in New York. What? Which
we
one?
went to Poughkeepsie, New York. If anyone even knows what that is.
We would get paid for appearances.
Like, okay, so like the Hills
at clubs,
yes.
at nightclubs.
Shut up. Okay, so it was called Student City. Was this company, and they would do like
snowboarding trips,
spring breaks, snowboard trip. We'd go to Cancun. So like we would get probably like, how much would I get?
Nothing. Like a couple grand.
Yeah, I got like four. I mean, shit. You want to take me to Cancun and pay me $5,000? I am free.
I know.
But we would go, and then we would have these trips with these other college kids, which were also older than us, but like they cared about Laguna Beach.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Like we did have like a little bit of travel. Canada, big fans.
Poughkeepsie, New York.
Poughkeepsie, New York was not like, we actually took a train all the way through New York one time, and we were still 17, like children.
But this is post high school?
Post high school.
No, we were 18. We were 18.
Maybe we were 18.
It was because it was after it aired our senior year. I remember the guy's name was Flounder.
Yeah, I remember that.
We were
we should have honestly been filming that. That's like, it was like the simple.
It was really funny. That was, by the way, for the show that they wanted to do, Baby Girls with a Z. It was sort of like it was supposed to be kind of like Simple Life, because we were supposed to be taking over her mom's photography business. So like figuring that out, like not really knowing how to have a job. We're not like totally incapable how like Paris and Nicole were.
Right.
But that was kind of like part of like what they were, the air that they were trying to go with it.
Yes. Okay. So she's talking about, if you didn't listen to episode 1, that your producers pitched you two for a show. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Were you like wanting to do it?
I wanted to do it. And then again, we, as Ken mentioned, like in your first episode, it was such like this feeling of like shame because of how
it was easy to convince her not to. Let's just say that.
Ken was like, I don't want to do it because, well, also her boyfriend at the time, it was the same thing. Like my boyfriend's parents, it was like embarrassing to me. They were like super religious, and her exes, she just didn't. It was embarrassing for us. So like we didn't like that we were portrayed. And then,
but if we were smart, we would have been like, screw this.
Yeah.
And these people, these relationships, these fake relationships that we're in, like, let's make something of this. Why weren't our parents in on that? Like, I look at what Lauren's parents did for the Hills, and they really, like, Jim Conrad, gosh, why was my dad not like Jim Conrad? Like, he really laid all this out of, like, here's what the Hills is going to be like. Here's what you're going to give her. I mean,
oh, really?
Yeah, he totally controlled that for her and did as he should have. He did a great job.
She was an 18-year-old going into.
And like even Kristen, like she said that she had them pay for her mortgage or not mortgage, her rent. Like if you're going to film here, like things just got bigger and better for them. Where us, we were like, okay, let's go hide. Like we were the fools of this.
Well, your lives would have been
and now we're sitting here together.
Yeah. And now you're back together. Okay, so you decided not to do.
We just really didn't want to like continue this thing where we didn't feel like worthy of like doing a reality TV show because we're like, who are we? Like our season was embarrassing to us. They've made us look terrible. And
Maybe
so
we made ourselves look terrible. This is a very therapeutic moment for me.
Shit.
No.
Oh shit. I mean, we did. Look, we did. We said the things we said, but not all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Not
And
all
like
of them
also like some
in
of it-
context, like, you know.
Okay, one of the things that I did say on this show was I hate when people have money and no taste. I still fucking hate that. I still hate that. 17 years later, do you hate when people have money and no taste?
Don't drag me into. I did not sign up.
No, but like who I said it about
Yes.
was not who they put it with. Remember that?
I don't even remember.
You'll remember when I say it off camera. I said it about somebody I'm still close with, and she still has money and she still has shit taste. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
But they put it with the other girl. I didn't say that
Oh my
about
God, wait,
Raquel.
yeah, no.
Remember? Like all this stuff that we said, yes, we did say it, but like it wasn't about that.
Right. It was about different
They
things.
wanted me to be like I went through my boyfriend's voicemail or something at the car wash. Like everything was just so like
Oh my God. you're
just
bringing
give us
all
a
these-
script. If you gave me a script, it'd be easier.
Which they
Right.
did. They did for the last. Okay, so I think it was the first episode. We filmed that like weeks before the first episode aired. For
Oh,
us.
so
So
after we were
backwards.
done. Yeah, we did it
we
backwards.
were done,
yeah.
and they were like, "Oh shit, we need to get them talking about this upcoming part."
Yes,
because they
that's right.
didn't.
And that's why we look so over it.
Was it hard for you? Because obviously you guys got fame from Laguna to make like authentic friends in college. Because I feel like
Yes, a little bit.
I went to USC and there's a lot of people that famous kids or whatever, and they're
Yeah.
always very hesitant to like be friends because they're like, do you want to be friends with me for clout or because you know me, or do you really want to be my friend?
Yeah. There was definitely some people that were like, you could just tell they were
Yeah.
like way too into, and you're like,
Always the ones from Kentucky.
yeah, they weren't from here. Let's just say they were
Yeah.
not from California. From California, you don't really give a shit. I feel like they're like, there's people. Not that we were like famous, but like especially like up in LA,
Right.
no one really cares because there's just like a lot of famous people up there. But there were definitely people from like, let's say the South, gave more of a shit. And I definitely could tell, like, okay, those people wanted to be my friend because of it. And you were just like,
Now we're just begging for anyone to be our friends because of it. Like, anyone out there, do you give a shit?
Clearly, they do.
Some people still do. A few people
I love it.
They do.
I
Yeah.
know, that's why I'm so happy she did this podcast, because it was something like, look, like, and also too, like, I mean, look at the setup in her home, like where you guys are doing this, and everything looks wonderful. I watched the first and I said, Ken, I'm like, God, even the glasses where they're placed, it looks so nice. So I feel like there was like some stuff that we wanted to do, or even just that she wanted to do herself, and you're maybe unsure of yourself. I don't know, but decide
Yeah.
not to do it.
I
so
needed
like
this
that's why
one to
this
push me.
That's why I'm like so happy that she did this, because
Well, wait, when
I feel
she
like-
did approach me, though, I will tell you, she's like, I want you to be a co-host with me. I was like, so we went to coffee, which was like the first time, I think actually, that we've ever just gone somewhere, you and I, without either of our children. Like
Yeah,
any of the 4
probably.
kids or
and
husbands
you're
or
like,
other
oh, so
friends.
that's what your voice sounds
And
like.
yeah, I'm like, oh.
You're
But
like, oh, wait, I do like you.
Well, I said to her, I was like, I will do this with you, but I won't be your Guillermo. Like I'm not going to be like your Guillermo in this. I'll do it as a partner with you. No, but I feel like now that her and I are doing this together, she like definitely keeps me accountable, because I too, it's like, let's start something, let's do something. And then you're like, oh, it's so easy to like, back out. I'm not backing out.
You want to know why? Because I bet these mics were expensive.
That too.
The camera equipment wasn't cheap. I know you.
No.
You're like,
But
well,
I'm
in
invested
your head,
now.
Gus was like, we're doing this now.
Oh God, right?
But it is hard to like put yourself out there. It's hard
Oh,
for
yeah.
me to put myself out there with all of this, and I have nowhere near like the fame that you guys have. But
It's
like
so hard being vulnerable.
well, and it's hard because the time that you guys were filmed on Laguna, like if someone had a camera on me in high school, I would probably be undergrad right now, because I'd be so
mortified.
Yes.
at like, that is, you are trying to figure yourself out. And like from then to now, we have reinvented ourselves
for sure.
so many times. So like the fact that MTV was filming you during that time
And captured it. And now it's on Netflix.
I'm pretty sure. I think I watched season 1. Like I wanted to move to Laguna.
I mean, yeah, we live there and same.
She's like, duh. Yeah, of course you do.
Of course,
Hello.
it's gorgeous. I mean, it's literally the most. Now looking back, also I think for us when we were done with Laguna, it was like, let's get out of here. Oh my God, literally the most beautiful place to ever grow up. Like we had like Laguna Beach
totally
High
took it for
School.
granted.
We had totally like. Wouldn't you love to go back and do that all over again?
Yeah.
But we had 800 kids in our high school. We had a surf team. Like our football team was garbage, but like we had a surf team. We'd go down to the beach and watch these like hot little boys surf and go to the beach after school. school. Like what life is this?
Yeah.
And you stop and think
Take the
about
trolley
it.
down during the summer, like just free range beach. Like it was just amazing.
Did you move back? Oh, no, you didn't move back to Laguna after college. You stayed in LA.
All of her ex-boyfriends, best friends live in Chicago. Not all, a lot of them did. And they're all self-employed. Yeah, it was her fault that I moved. They're all self-employed. I went there during summer and I went and stayed with a couple of them.
She lasted one winter and came back. But then when she did come back, you found other plans. What'd you do when you came back?
Oh, yeah. I got married. I had a baby.
Wait, not in that order. Back up.
Okay. So we were together, like my ex-husband and I. We were together like 6 months, I think. Yeah, 6 months. And then I got pregnant.
And how old were you?
Oh, God. It felt like
24?
a teen pregnancy. No, I wasn't 24. I was 25. Having a kid at 25, like, it feels like a teen pregnancy. None of my friends were having nowhere near even that point in their life. So I remember I called Kyndra and I was like, look, like, my family's Jewish. Like, you don't have children, like, out of wedlock. So to be honest with you, I called Ken and I was like, look, like, I just was like, there's no way I'm fucking having a baby right now. There's no way. So I called her and she was like, and Ken's always wanted it.
Oh my God.
Ken's always wanted to have kids. She was like,
what did I say? I'll take it or what?
Probably. I'm sure you did. But no, she was like, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I really wasn't. I'd only been with her dad for like 6 months. And I wasn't really sure of that relationship, to be honest with you, even then. And obviously decided to keep her. She's like the best.
She's the best thing in the world.
It was like, she's the best. She is literally like an angel on earth. And she was like Kendra's first baby, basically.
Yeah, she still is my first baby.
Kendra, like, or not Kendra, sorry, Parker, like, literally is like, tells people's names her cousin.
So you can imagine like your best friend from childhood. And granted, 25 is not that young, but like when you're not, and it's young and you're not in a situation where you're like, yeah, we're married, we got engaged, we had the wedding, and now we're trying to have a baby. Like it was a surprise to when she called me. I was like, okay, are you coming down and we're going to like figure this out together? Like what is the vibe here?
Right.
And then we go from, no, we're not doing that. Like we're going to have a little baby doll. And she's like such a rad little kid that we just took her everywhere with us. It was like we had this little practice baby, but it was actually her responsibility, which I do look back at now and think, how the hell did you survive that? Because I'm 30 something and can't.
You want to know what?
With help and with a husband and a stable life, and I still can't figure it out. Like,
and it was really chaotic with her dad. And so I feel like she was the easiest kid.
She literally would sleep.
Did you get married before you had her?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
I think I was like 6 months pregnant or something. He proposed maybe when I was like 3 months pregnant. And then we got married legally. We didn't actually have a wedding, thank God, because that would have been like, I don't know, $100,000 down the fucking toilet. So we were together up until she was 2. It was just, I'm not going to go into like detail. I never want to like speak badly about her father.
I will. Right. I'm just kidding.
I know she will. Trust me.
Yeah.
But no, I because my daughter is like absolutely loves her father, and I will say now he's a really involved dad. So I don't want to like go into it about her dad, but let's just say I was in a really bad situation, and it was the whole thing, which just feels like a bad dream. Basically, those 3 years of my life.
But the fact that you had the guts to leave.
I had to, like I said, and again, I'm not going to go into detail. It was just a really bad situation. I remember I called Ken after I'd slept in my car that night.
With a 3-year-old.
No,
she wasn't in the car with you, but
she was 2. Okay, I think it was
2,
right before she turned, or right after she turned 2. No, I left her in the house, and I grabbed her and I called you guys because it was Courtney's birthday, Kendra's sister, and I called you and I was like explaining what had happened, and you.
So she had kept everything that was going on like under lock and key. And I think because we also have this time where like she saw me through like really bad times as well, that like she will like dish it to me, but she also knows that like if I saw things, like I will be a mirror for her. Yeah. Like I won't let this shit fucking fly.
She would have ripped him a new one. So it was.
I like still am sweating thinking about stuff.
I know.
But I think so. It was like when she did say it, I'm like, yeah. Bring Parker down. Like, let's go to like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
like, what is this? But then she would like open up more, and like it was like, oh no, actually, this is like really fucking serious. But I will say also like one thing with her, and she's never taken my advice, which is probably a blessing for her daughter. But I was very much like, get away. Like, I don't. Without saying too much, I think it was more of like she had an idea of what it was like to grow up without a dad.
Yes, that is ultimately why I chose to. God, we were trying to be cordial. Sorry, now who's we? I was trying to be cordial at all times with him, and it was really, I'd get like cussed out via text and then have to show up at a preschool thing, like within like, I mean, like cussed out on in the way, like in the door via text, and then put like a smiling face on. So we did every birthday together. We tried to do as many holidays and it was like really, really tough. And like not to like compare myself to Kim Kardashian, but like I have a lot of respect for Kim Kardashian given like how she won't respond like publicly or anything like that about with like Kanye, who will like very publicly, and like, again, not to compare it was like a little bit similar in the sense of like being accused of things and just putting on like a happy face for your kids because you know that your kid loves their father, so you don't want them to like think any differently. And also like, honestly, and I'm sure you guys like, I just don't want to fuck my kid up. Like that is like the ultimate thing. Like, what can I do? Like, we all have childhood trauma of some sorts, no matter what it is, daddy issues, you name it. But like, my goal has been and will always be to like shelter her from that stuff. So again, and just to like reiterate, like everything is totally great now. He's a great father, but like we went through a lot of shit. I went through a lot of shit. Yeah.
What was it like doing like the single mom thing at 27?
So that was one of the things, and I think that a lot of women like don't. There's like a million reasons why people will stay in a relationship when you like can't figure like, why are you that person still? There's a thousand reasons. It's like, one is like, again, to shelter your children. Right. I didn't want to be. I like Ken said, like I grew up without my father, so like I wanted to keep that family intact.
You didn't want a broken home for her.
I did not want a broken home. So I had at one point kind of like resolved, like, you know what, like I'm just doing this until she's 18. Like I'm going to hate this life, but like I'm going to do it for her. And I feel like a lot of women end up saying, not like they stay trapped in these marriages because they don't want to do that to their kids. And it's like, actually,
imagine how you would feel right now.
It would be terrible.
I mean, and like what kind of parent or what kind of mother you would be for her being in that situation.
Just a shell of myself, I'm sure.
Exactly.
And there's also a lot of shame with like being a single mom. It's like, I don't want to say like embarrassing, but I think that was it was embarrassment. Like, what did you, and unfortunately it falls on the mom, falls on the woman. Like, what did you do wrong? Why couldn't you keep your family together? Like there's all the, and instead, like, you're just trying to get out of like a really bad situation. So there was like, I wish I would have left even earlier, but I'm glad I got out like when I did, because I know a lot of people that like, even now I can think of a couple of moms that I know they're like in not great situations. So yeah, ultimately when I left, I felt just immediately like better. And I will say I had help, and I know a lot of like women don't have help when you're in that situation. Right. I got out, I moved with my mom immediately. We put our house on the market. And then my uncle is like one of like the top
it's just not her.
family law.
So he got her divorced real quick. We'll figure this out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I mean, look, like it was crazy it was embarrassing is what it was. It was embarrassing to me that I was divorced. I couldn't, again, like figure it out, or like what I was more concerned about.
But also I think too, this was like 6-7 years ago, right? And like even from now, I feel like now if you see a single mom, and I don't know if it's just that we're at an age where like we know how much harder it is and like things happen in life. But back then I did feel like it was a situation where it was like, oh my God, what's
shameful.
It's shameful. It shouldn't be. And it was more of like, you should be so fucking
like
proud.
There's also this like this mindset that like you're not going to find somebody else. Like who's going to want like to raise somebody else's kid? And like I will say, like with my husband too, like he wasn't like out searching for single moms.
There's not enough.
Like I know there probably is, unfortunately. But like, he met me and we fell in love, and like because I had a kid, that didn't matter, and then he ultimately like fell in love with my kid too and everything. So, but that was a total like in the back of my mind, like what if I don't find somebody else? And you like want that, not even safety, because it wasn't even like, I don't even mean financial, I don't even mean like emotional. It just like, again, like you don't want to be this like lonely spinstress or something like later on.
Yeah. Imagine being a mom, working, and having a date.
No.
No, thank you.
You can barely
mom.
You can barely see straight.
Yeah, I know. Like imagine doing the dating thing with a mom. I always think about that with her. Like I'm like trying to get through my days with my 2 kids. and thinking about like, wow, as a single mom, you also worked. Like she put her kid in a daycare because she had to, but like she was working and surviving and taking care of her child and having to date and find a spouse.
No, I mean, all of it. Like, even what you said, I was like, whoo, like, it felt like a ton of bricks when you were like, it's shameful, but it's so sad because it's really upsetting that, like, that's what our society thinks. But, like, to hear you say that you were just going to stay in it till you were 18, I'm like, I want to cry for you because that's the sacrifices we make as moms. It's like, we don't matter anymore. Like whatever I feel, I don't care. Like that is now out the window and you are the most important thing. But that's like a heavy load. That's your life too.
It is. That's why I'm so glad because I feel like so many women stay just for their kids. And then ultimately, like sometimes, you know, you hear from these kids as they grow up later, they're like, I wish my parents would have divorced because they see them fighting or like whatever. They can see that their parents like truly hate each other. So,
well, without getting into any detail, was there like a moment for you where you were like, I feel strong enough to finally walk away?
Or weak enough where like I've been broken?
Yeah, it was like, I don't want to go into the detail.
Don't go into detail. Was it like, were you continuously talking to yourself like, okay, it's almost time. It's almost time. And then you could go? Or was it like one time where you're like, it's time?
It was one time. It was a one-time situation. And again, like I slept in my car that night and I left all of my stuff in the house because I didn't even want to go in the house. I grabbed pee and I went to my mom's house and like I was like, that was that. I didn't look back. My mom was like, do not go back. Like you cannot go back. And I was like, I'm not. Like didn't even.
You know what I do think that I commend you for too is that you talked about it right away to your mom, to me, because if you don't, then you go back. Oh, not that I'm like speaking from experience, but I think a lot of women, they hide things or they internalize it and then they like will be like, all right, I'm going to go back. And then it's a cycle and it's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
But if you say it out loud to other people, those other people are going to hold you accountable. Yeah. And we're at the point where you're like, how could I do that for my daughter?
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it almost crossed my mind. Like, did I do? But then I was like, no. Don't
even let that voice talk.
And I also like at that point when you're, you know, when someone's treating you so poorly, like you fall out of love anyway. So I think that was an easy part for me. A lot of women like still like have love for, you know, they're the person who's like being terrible to them. And like, I think that I just like immediately like shut off. And so it was like, I was ready to go.
Well, so what does life look like now?
Well, so we got married. Well, we got engaged and then I just was like, I want a fucking baby right now.
It's because I had a baby.
Yes, you.
Typical best friend. Yes, I got pregnant with Zane. She's like, I want a baby.
I remember holding him and I was like, I could do this. I could do this again. Because, and again, Parker was so easy. I pitched the dream to my husband. I was like, I was working with her, like having conference calls, and she was like in the Bjorn, like just quiet. She'd pass out. Like she was just so fucking easy. And I like,
she's like, I could do that again.
Yeah. And I told my husband, I'm like, we don't even need like a nanny. Like, it is just like, and I'm like, just explaining how like cheap it would be, like all just like totally.
You're trying to sell the idea.
I pitched the dream to him, and our baby is like completely different. But anyway, so she's just like, she's so much more hands-on. Let's just say, like needs to be, requires so much more attention. All of mine.
But even like back to her pregnancy, she got super sick.
Yes.
Like what is that called when you
like hyperemesis?
Yeah.
Like extreme nausea, morning
the
sickness,
whole time. Yeah,
but with both pregnancies. So we were trying and then got pregnant. I had a little bit of difficulty getting pregnant at first, and then got pregnant. And then again, my family was like, "You need to get married. You can't be like doing this.
We're doing this backwards.
What's wrong with you?" So we got married. Kyndra was there. I only had like my two friends, family, and got married at my grandma's house in Beverly Hills. I have my great grandmother's wedding band. It was just nice. It was like the same cake,
but not a good pregnancy. Like
fucking terrible.
Yeah, she got diagnosed with
IUGR.
Or the baby. Is it your diagnosis or the baby's diagnosis?
I don't know, but
the baby was diagnosed with IUGR, intrauterine growth restriction. Small baby. Yeah, and talk about like Taylor and I've both had things with like our pregnancies that you know mine, but. Like knowing too much, like they scared the shit out of her that something was wrong.
When you're going once a week then to get monitored and they're like, what's that noise? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is your heart rate like moving so much? Like, you know, the more you know, it's like scary. But yeah, she had like a really small head circumference and my husband has a extremely small head. So it was really scary for me because Parker was born almost 9 pounds. She was ginormous, 98th percentile for head weight and like height. Like, so she, for me, and again, I have to remember these are like different genetics that I'm dealing with, but she had a small head and she was just small. There was some like tissue growth that restricted actually her growing.
But Cami also has this thing, like even before, she always thinks she's dying, or Cami thinks everything bad's gonna happen to her. What is that called?
I don't feel that
Psychotic? Yeah, you do.
Psychotic.
No, even before, when she was a virgin in high school, she's like, I think I'm pregnant. I'm like, you've never had sex.
The general no.
How many times have you taken pregnancy tests?
I took one a couple days ago.
No, before even having sex. She literally thought she was Virgin Mary. She's like, I must be pregnant. I'm like, you've never had
I'm
sex.
Insane.
No, she's literally insane. But so she has done this to herself and to her, I think, her daughter now. I'm like, you need to cleanse yourself of this energy. We need like a healer. But one thing that I always think she's so nuts, but she actually did find something with her daughter's eye.
Yeah.
So all these babies all these doctors were looking at your baby, like, you know, the one that delivers, a pediatrician. And then she happened
I was so nervous during my pregnancy that there was something wrong. Terrified every day, all day because of this, because she had this IEGR. Her head was, because there are some very rare things that can happen with like the circumference of their head. Like they can come out with some sort of genetic something. So I remember I was on the phone with Ken and when I was pregnant, and I was like, you asked me, you're like, do you really, like in your mom gut, do you really feel like something's wrong? And I like lied. I was like, because I didn't want to like
speak it into existence.
Exactly. And I don't know, I can't say for certain that I did, but yeah. So when she was born, she was really small, but she also was born 2 weeks early.
C-section?
Yeah, C-section. But I'm pretty sure when I was there, I started actually having contractions, which is funny. So scheduled C-section. And then when she came out, everything was good. You know, we got home and it was night 3 and our other friend Jordan had come over. I'm like looking at her eye and there's like a reflection in her eye. And I thought it was the like recessed lighting in my kitchen. I'm looking and there's like this spot in her eye and I'm looking at it and I'm like kind of like moving around her, like trying to look to see like, is this
if it's moving? So
I'm like looking and it's not moving. And I was like, I'm like looking at her and I just like, and it just like, I get this like overwhelming like sense of anxiety because what I immediately jumped to, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but it's like eye cancer. And I think they're missing like the red light reflection or something like that in their eye. You can see it on like, on pictures. Flash will like create this like spot in their eye. And that's immediately what I thought it was. So I grabbed my husband and we're like, he's immediate denial. He's like, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And he's like, calls Parker over and he's like, Parker, do you see that in her eye? And she's like, yeah, I see it. And my husband and I immediately, like we were up all night. I was just like bawling because I'm like convinced myself that she had this eye cancer and either like she was going to die or like lose that eye like immediately. And we were like up all night and it was a Friday night. So
of course, over the weekend.
So we rushed her. I called the emergency line, like at my pediatrician's office. She like gave me all these people to go to, but we went straight to Hill Children's Hospital into the emergency room. She was 3 days old or whatever, 4 days old. We're in the emergency room with all these other sick kids and like injured kids and everything. And we were like, I can't even like describe the feeling. We were just like, basically we went in there, begged and pleaded. They gave us our own room. So we were like separated from everybody else because she's like a newborn.
Right.
Begged and pleaded. There was like an out of office. He was like a med student. Like he wasn't like a full doctor. What do they call them?
Resident?
Yeah, he was a resident. He was out like golfing or something. So it took a couple hours for him to come in and we like begged. We're like, please. So the way that
you needed an optometrist to come in.
I did. Well, no, like a retina specialist, I believe. He came in and he looked with basically how they can diagnose, which ended up being a cataract, but how they can diagnose it versus a cataract versus a retinal blastoma is what it's called, is like this stalk behind their eye. If it was cancer, it'd be like all the way to the back of like her brain, I think. But if it's just in her retina, then she had the cataract. And we were just sitting there like on pins and needles. I'm like literally like holding on to my husband so tight because they had a ultrasound is how they check it, and we were just like looking over, like I think I had my eyes
pretending
closed.
That you're going to be able to know what you're seeing right. Anyway.
No, but I think I had my eyes closed. My husband was like leaning over and I'm just holding on to him like praying it's not cancer, and thankfully it wasn't. But she was born with it's a unilateral. If it's both, it's bilateral, but unilateral cataract. So we were told then that we thought then that basically like all they did was they take out the cataract and then she can see. Like they'll put in a contact lens, which we're like, okay, that's hard enough. But we're like, she'll see. But that's not the case at all. So we had to go in. They had to, at 6 weeks, they do the surgery, which is crazy. So we had to take her in at 6 weeks old for a surgery and had all these other doctor's appointments. She's also like jaundiced and was like borderline failure to thrive, like in terms of weight. The whole thing was just
her
like
weight. I remember she was like in the less than 1%.
Yeah, she was a borderline failure to thrive.
Tiny.
So the whole thing was just like so
failure
terrible.
to thrive just sounds like the
oh my
worst
god,
thing
it
you'd
was
ever want to hear
when I
as
had
a
this
mom.
big old fat baby like the first time around. I was like, what the fuck?
And then failure to thrive in the emergency room at 3 days old.
Yes. So it was just like the whole thing was so crazy. But yeah, so
if she didn't catch the eye, so the pediatricians
Yes.
looked at the eye, they said, yeah, or like they looked at the baby and did, the physicals, everything's fine. If she didn't catch it and get on it right away, she would never have had vision in that eye. She would have lost her eye.
basically what happens is that those even like the first few days and weeks are like critical in terms of like the brain eye connection. So if one's not functioning, the brain will be like, it doesn't work and we're going to shut it off. Mm-hmm. So if a lot of these, because they're super rare, I think it's like 1 in like 10,000, not super, but rare, 1 in 10,000 or like 20,000 births or something like that, that it goes missed.
Diagnosed,
They don't catch it. The pediatrician.
So all this to say that all the things that she's like so paranoid about, this was like the one time that it really paid off for her. I mean, for Lennox, her baby's sake.
So she had the surgery at 6 weeks, and then she had a subsequent surgery because there was like a blood clot in her eye that was like blocking her central vision. And it was rough. It was really, 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 we had to put a contact lens in her eye, which we do still now every day.
You put a contact lens
in a 6
I
week old
wear
baby.
Contacts.
Hard contact lens.
Oh, yeah.
Not a soft contact lens, a hard contact lens. And so then we had to go through the process of her wearing, which she still does now, a patch on her eye, on her good eye, so that her brain is forced to use the bad eye. Because if we didn't, then her brain would shut it off. Even with the contact lens, there is no vision there. And you wouldn't know, like nothing's like held her back or anything like that. But yeah, it was really tough.
Mm-hmm. That is insane. I've never heard of that before.
But thank God that it was caught.
And that is crazy that you caught that on day 3 and just by like looking. I don't know that I would have caught that.
Well, after
all of my friends have had babies since. They've had like doctors in there.
Like, I will be looking at
eyes.
Eyes.
I know, crazy. Huh?
It's super rare, and they don't really know what the unilateral. It's kind of just like a fluke. I did get COVID when I was 6 weeks pregnant. I had a fever.
Else,
yeah, but like that's also when like they're developing. The thing is like you look at, and I've spent so much time in Children's Hospital LA. Like every time I go in there, I like think I'm like, God, just a reminder. Like
you're lucky, 100%. You're so lucky.
I went to CHLA also for my daughter, and I remember I went by myself. Palmer was like 8 weeks old. I took her in for a second opinion, and same thing. You walk in there and you see the kids who are like cancer.
They have end of life care or like end of life facilities. Yeah.
Yes, and it's like
bring me back to.
It's
just horrible.
I know.
Horrible.
I know. It was just really traumatizing.
And she did all this while she was starting her own business.
Yes.
So tell us about your business.
Yeah. So it's funny. It actually just had like started. It was actually my friend Jordan's idea. Our friend Jordan's idea.
Just plucked that idea from you, and
she was pregnant too. So I did this actually while I was pregnant. Like we started. She was pregnant too, and I was like, it was her idea, and I just like ran with it. And then ultimately, you have to put a lot of sweat into, literally a lot of sweat and tears.
We've never worked harder in our lives. And we're like, what are we fucking doing?
Yeah,
never. What did you ask for, Taylor? We're like texting each other at like late hours of the night. Like, oh God.
But yeah, like. So it's like the fancy. I've never done a Kardashian party, but like I've done a couple celeb parties. But like
one of Nick Cannon's 12 children.
I did actually.
One of the 12.
Yeah. But the fancy decor, the white bounce houses, the ball pits, the soft play, all of the like backdrops, balloons, like the fancy kids.
And you've done my kids' parties. That counts for something.
You did Zane's
UPS. That was like when I had first that's when I was still like I had another job.
She worked for like corporate, like a badass job, and then she started doing this on the side. And then
I was working 7 days a week, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, now she has Bounce House LA, and it's popping.
Yeah. I want to expand. We do like service Orange County and everything, but I want to like fully expand down Orange County. I'm gonna use Kyndra's other house for storage.
Totally. All right, let's end on a fun note. Give like all the Laguna fans what they want. Favorite moment of filming together or separately on Laguna.
Do you want to do separately if you have a different
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to know your favorite moment.
Oh,
My
you think
favorite
of yours?
moment, so we were in Cabo, which everyone's seen that. All the Cabo episodes of every like season were like everyone's favorites because everyone's just like out of their minds. And it was the end of the night. I want to say like the last night we filmed. And we were just so done. And we were running around through the streets of Mexico with the whole camera crew running behind us. And we were trying to ditch them.
Oh.
And we were just like, running full speed and watching like, 8 camera people with like heavy ass equipment run after us. And we were just done. So we chucked our mics and like ran into a strip club. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. They couldn't follow us.
Ran into a strip club and then like got on stage. I think that was probably, but they didn't film that part. So no one will ever see that part. But leading up to it, I feel like that was probably like one of the funnier memories that I have of like Laguna.
Yeah, I feel like Cabo was just like a really good time in general of our lives. Forget about filming, but one of my most iconic, I think, is when my dad, I don't know where he was going to back and forth to China all the time, and I think he brought us like fake Louis Vuitton duffels. Thanks, Dad. And we were standing there, and they had to fake film us leaving Cabo.
Oh, that's right.
And we were on day 3, but for some reason they needed to film us leaving, and we were just like not feeling it. So we put fake stuff. They actually packed up our bags and we're sitting there with these fake duffels. And like, I think somebody reached out, or we knew somebody that worked at Louis Vuitton was like, there's no feet on the bottom of those duffels. And it was just so iconic. Like, it just fucking shows you like, what were we doing 16 with like Louis Vuittons, which also like most of our shit was real, but it was like just happening. It was just such like what are we trying to fucking do
It was
here?
so funny.
Oh my
With
God.
our fake duffels.
That's hilarious. That's really good. Oh my God. Well, thank you for being here. You have to come back because, like I said, literally everyone was like, bring her, Taylor, go. Get lost.
They're like, but who's the new girl?
Yeah.
Who's the other brunette?
I know.
Who's the other brunette?
I know. I'm so glad I came down and did this finally. And I'm so excited for you guys. It's so cool.